Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Speaking Spurs and me, Kieran, talking all things Tottenham. Lots to talk about today. Transfer rumours going all round the place. We are talking wingers, midfielders, centre backs, also Harry Kane, possible incomings, outgoings. There's a lot to talk about. So the last time I left you guys was talking about James Maddison and his medical. Obviously, the medical took place. It was only a formality, which is why I didn't bother doing a video announcing the signing, because we already knew it was going to happen. So the video would have been very short. It would have been me sitting there going, "Hey, James Maddison, we signed him. Medical went okay." So I didn't feel the need to kind of do another video and patronise. So look, we'll jump into it. We'll start talking about the newest player to be coming through the door, supposedly, and that will be Manor Solomon. He's set to sign a 5-year deal with Tottenham Hotspur, subject to his medical, which I believe it should be tomorrow. So that'll be Tuesday, depending on when you're watching this video. So spent last season on loan at Fulham from Shakhtar Donetsk. Had a bit of a torrid time in terms of injury, but then when he came back in, did very well when he got in the squad. Scored 5 goals in 5 consecutive Premier League games. Kind of reminiscent of Sonny at times in the way that he actually took some of his goals, starting out wide, cutting inside and smashing some. Is he the finished article? No, he's not. But, however, I will mention this quickly. There are a lot of Tottenham fans out there that are kind of moaning that, yes, the James Maddison deal happened, but we signed a goalkeeper that was half the price of the one we originally wanted in Raya. And then also the fact that why are we chasing after Solomon, who was on loan at Fulham, comes from Shakhtar on a free transfer? Is this ambitious enough? And I can tell you now, 23 years old, and then when he came back in, scoring 5 goals in 5 consecutive games after coming back from the injury, straight off the back of that, and was doing that from the bench as well, in the Premier League, it's a hard ask. So I can tell you now, on a free transfer, it just makes sense. In terms of wages, he's come from Shakhtar. He's not going to be on huge wages either. So it kind of is a bit of a no-brainer. And if it doesn't work out, guess what we can do? Sell him for a transfer fee. So it kind of makes sense. So a little bit of history about this deal. He's a player that we were looking at before. Shakhtar obviously came out and said that anyone that tries to take any of their players on a free, they will be looking to take to court to try and battle. So those of you that don't know, the Ukrainian league were basically told that any of your foreign players are allowed to leave the club because of the crisis that's happening with the invasion from Russia. Now, do I agree with it? No, I don't. These are players that the club have paid for. They should be compensated in some way and not been afforded that. So I get why they would want to take court action. But then also on the other side of it, I get why Premier League teams would be sniffing around these players. If you can get a decent quality player on a free transfer, why would you not? Because, as I said, even if it doesn't work out, you can sell them for a transfer fee. So it's a win-win. You've only outlaid a little bit of wages and a signing on fee and maybe an agent fee or whatever. So, that's pretty much it for him. Could be coming in. You would have seen on the Tottenham Hotspur website last week that we did announce that there will be a friendly with Shakhtar, sort of like to help in the time of the Ukrainian suffrage at the hands of Russia. Now, I have no doubt that the only reason why we've done that is to soften the blow on the Manor Solomon deal. So there will be a payment of some sorts going to them for this friendly, which is basically Daniel Levy's way of saying, please don't take us to court and drag this out, especially after everything that happened with Paratici. Let's keep ourselves out of the newspaper for the wrong reasons for once. And so I should imagine some of that is going to be a bit of a sweetener for the deal itself. But yeah, it'll be another signing on top of obviously the permanent signing of Dejan Kulusevski after his loan, Vicario in goal, midfielder James Maddison, and Pedro Porro's deal. Looks like we've triggered the official clause to make sure he is our player. So what can we say about Solomon? Apart from the fact that he was only one of only 4 Fulham players to bury the ball in the back of the net in 4 consecutive Premier League matches. He was nominated for FIFA's Premier League Player of the Month award on one of the months, and also the Premier League's Budweiser Goal of the Month. Former boss at Maccabi Petah Tikva, I think you pronounce it, nicknamed him Manor Star, as his Fulham teammate Niskins Cabano said he calls the athlete Pikachu after the electric Pokemon character because he's fast as lightning. But yeah, I mean, for me personally, I think it's a good deal, something we should take advantage of. I completely understand why we're doing it. So, moving on to the next one, we'll hit the centre-back trail now. So there's a few that we've been linked with. Tapsoba and the guy from Fulham. I can't remember his name. It's gone out my head, and even if I could, I can't pronounce it. I'm sure somebody will put it in the comments, or it will come around in one of the stories. But the one that is probably the most likely to happen, and reports everywhere are saying that we have actually got an agreement with the player. Some sources are saying we have an agreement with the club, just not the final details and the finer mechanisms of this deal. But a lot of places are saying that Mickey van der Ven, a guy I spoke about in the last video, there is an agreement now. So Alistair Gold is one of the ones that's actually come out saying that there isn't actually a full deal in place for this. There is a very strong interest. It's not to say that the deal won't happen. But yeah, Alistair Gold is saying that we haven't reached an agreement, but this comes after mixed reports. So the Mirror reported today that Tottenham had reached an agreement with Wolfsburg to sign the £30 million centre-back this summer. Personal terms have probably been agreed. It would be a 5-year deal that would run until 2028. Fabrizio Romano also said this week that we're currently looking to sign Van der Ven or Tapsoba, but probably not both. I mean, that'll very much depend on who goes out the door. I would have liked to think, but you know, it kind of makes sense. Tapsoba will be the most expensive of those two. He would also probably command the higher wages. So yeah, I do like this one. He's quick. Apologies if you just saw the lights go down. I'm flicking through pages here. So yeah, we'll talk about those centre backs now. So it was Tapsoba. I can't pronounce it. The Fulham guy, Adarabioyo. I've murdered that. I do apologise. And then, obviously, Van der Ven. God, it looks really weird, doesn't it, now the lights have gone. Let's see if I can get another light on here. There we go. A little bit more light. Woohoo! God, this is the problem when you're skipping through these web pages. Some have come up in dark mode. So, in terms of experience, Tapsoba would be probably the best option, and that's not by Premier League experience, obviously, because he hasn't played in the Premier League, but in terms of game time, he would be your more solid option. He averaged more tackles and interceptions, along with fewer errors per 90 than Adarabioyo and Van der Ven last season. But as I said, the 24-year-old is likely to be seeking the most lucrative contract, as his Leverkusen deal is worth 52 grand a week. Adarabioyo rakes in 37 grand a week at Fulham, and then Van der Ven is actually the sweetest deal for us because he only earns 20 grand a week at Wolfsburg. Although, you know, the guys in the German league don't have the Premier League experience, I do think in terms of potential, Van der Ven has unlimited potential. He's the quickest of the three as well. He's the cheapest. He's young. So for me, it kind of makes sense. I'd be happy with any of those three, and I wouldn't begrudge Levy for going in for him. So, you know, any of those three I'd be happy with, but it does seem that the Van der Ven one is the most likely to happen just because we know personal terms have been agreed. He's the cheapest, so obviously we've got more wiggle room to pay a little bit more if we want to. So yeah, that is that one. I'll be very happy with that. We'll skip that one for now. What's this one? Right. Okay, so we've spoken about Solomon. Now, let's look at the other side of it. So Solomon, as I said, can play on the right. He prefers to play on the right. He can also play on the left. Now, the thing about him playing on the right, leaves us with the option to start looking at another player. And I think this one is one of the least likely to happen of the wingers, because we're also looking at Harvey Barnes still as an option as well. But considering we're going to get Solomon on a free transfer, it means we can splash a bit more cash. And one of the players we could be looking at is Japanese international Mitoma from Brighton. He had a fantastic season last season. He was, incredible to watch. And we've made such a good start to the window. Why not be a bit ambitious? So, let's talk about him. This would be a great one. Obviously we're looking to improve that forward line, because Danjuma, we obviously didn't take up the option to keep him. Lucas Moura has gone out the window. Although we've got Brian Hill coming back, there's a possibility he could go back out on loan. But yeah, so it's reported that Mitoma was a former target of Ange Postecoglou when he was at Celtic. So the Greek Aussie revealed earlier this year that he did try to sign the Japanese sensation. He's now valued at around 35 million. I think he's a player that he's going to go on to be worth a lot more than that one day. So during his time at Celtic, it wasn't out of the question. He was looking at him. He obviously wanted to come to the Premier League, better league, But, it's believed that he could revive his interest in the Wing Wizard. So should we bring him in? Well, after previously scoring 8 goals and laying out 4 assists in 26 games during his time on loan at United San Gilois, I don't know. Tell me how to pronounce that below. Awful again. That was in the 21-22 campaign. The 26-year-old went on to replicate that in the Premier League last time out. Scoring 7 goals and contributing 6 assists in 33 top-flight outings. The highly rated speedster also provided a further 5 goal involvements while on cup duty, and he's been something of a revelation under Roberto De Zerbi, having helped power the Seagulls to European qualification last term. That qualification for Europe might be a bit of a sticking factor. He might sit there and go, do you know what? I'll sit it out at Brighton for another season, play a bit of European football and reassess my options after that. Depending on what other clubs come in for him. But this is where it comes in. He obviously likes to play on the left wing. Now, the great thing about that is that could move Solomon over to the right. That would provide competition for Kulusevski. Richarlison, we know, can play anywhere. He can operate as a centre forward, left, right, you name it, he can do it. So yeah, Solomon could then go on the right. And then you've got Mitoma to push Sonny. Now we know Sonny had a poor season last season, and then we find out that towards the end of the season it was probably because he's been injured for most of the season and just carried on playing anyway. But Mitoma there, great. So let's talk about a few percentages. So the major benefit of the partnership of them two on either wing is their dribbling prowess. They are both incredible dribblers. They've both got decent pace. It'd just be devastating down either flank. And then could you imagine, either them coming on late in the game to really stretch a team, or them two starting, and then you bring on like Richarlison and Kulusevski, 2 very hard-working players. It'd be absolutely fantastic. So percentage-wise, so the Brighton Mitoma Dynamo ranked in the top 5% for progressive carries among all of his European peers, as well as in the top 16% for successful take-ons, while Solomon actually ranks in the top 6% for take-ons in Europe. So that just goes to tell you how good these guys have been. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what comes of that one. But I would love to see Mitoma come in as well. What should we talk about next? So we've done that one. Okay, so we'll talk about another winger. So obviously Leicester, James Maddison came in. Harvey Barnes is a player that is still very much a player that we're looking at, and I think that's if we can't get other targets. We know he's a hugely talented player. He's done well. Is he the most? I think the problem is because looking at him and the fact that it was Leicester, it doesn't seem like the most exciting. But look, he's being linked with several Premier League clubs. Aston Villa are looking at him, West Ham. And yeah, still us. So I like him. and I'm not excited by him, but at the same time, I think he could be one of these players that would do a very good job for us. And ultimately, if we're looking for a left winger, we're not looking for someone to replace Sonny. So it also needs to be somebody that could not play every game and still be happy. And I feel like he could be one of those players because he's not going to want to be in the Championship for a season, which means probably a move to Spurs he'd be quite happy with, knowing that he's not always going to play. So he is one of the options there. And then let's unfortunately finish this video off with a bit of Harry Kane talk. So this one's going to be frustrating. It's probably going to go on for quite a bit of time this summer. Obviously, Bayern Munich came in with a bid for Harry Kane, which we rejected. Reports coming out of Tottenham are that we're just going to continue to reject bids. Apparently, Harry Kane has been told he is not going anywhere, but reports are now coming out alongside Bayern making another bid that Harry Kane has made the decision that he wants to join Bayern Munich this summer, which you know, for us, it's disappointing. At the same time, I can kind of understand it from his point of view, but then in my mind, I'm thinking, does he want to go, but also knows he can come back to the Premier League soon to break Alan Shearer's goal-scoring record? Or is he now just decided he's not bothered about that record whatsoever and he just wants to win a trophy? So, yeah, I mean, Bayern have already seen a €70 million bid with add-ons rejected. But ever since, they've been very direct in their contact with Spurs as they plan to make an improved offer. And that report came from Florian Plettenberg. So apparently Karl-Heinz Rummenigge is now leading the negotiations with Tottenham for Kane. It's believed that the 29-year-old has already been convinced to join and only wants to move to Bayern Munich this summer. Man United obviously were the other club that were hugely in the race for the Englishman, but it's believed that they pulled out due to the length of time it might take to get a deal done with Tottenham, because Daniel Levy likes to drag things out so he gets as much money as possible. My only question would be, is Daniel Levy looking at other strike targets to bring in if he goes? But the problem is, the longer you leave that, the less likely you are to get said transfer targets in and buy them, because they know you're desperate and selling Kane, the price naturally goes up. Or is there a possibility that Postecoglou is going to look at Richarlison and see if he can make him the player to take the reins? Look, it's one that's definitely going to drag on. It's going to be really annoying because Daniel Levy is obviously going to squeeze everything he can out of the deal if we are to lose our prized asset. I mean, for them, Bayern Munich, it'd be a massive, massive statement, because like Harry Kane's 29, soon to turn 30. He's one of the best strikers in the world, scores penalties for fun, can score with both feet, scores with his head. His link-up play is amazing. He's basically a midfielder at the same time. And if we can get anywhere near 100 million... I mean, the annoying thing is Declan Rice goes for 105 million. Harry Kane is worth a lot more than Declan Rice. But the issue is the 1 year left on the contract, the fact that he's soon to turn 30, makes things a little more difficult. But, you know, I think we should stick to our guns. You either pay upwards of 100 million or you don't get him and you just lose him for free, because at the end of the day, the money that you get for finishing a Champions League spot is much more important than the transfer fee we could get for Harry Kane. Because you get back into that Champions League. I mean, there was a previous video where I spoke about the money that you get once you're in the Champions League. Just for winning a group stage game is more than the money you win for your whole journey in the FA Cup or the League Cup, including winning that trophy. So, you know, the money is very, very important in finishing in the top four. So I think if we keep Harry Kane and then he goes on a free, but we get back in the Champions League, you know, we can then look at better quality players than what we would look at if we don't get in the Champions League. So it's kind of a win-win-win situation. You know, you sell him, you've got the money, you can kind of invest it somewhere else. Although, you know, at 80, 90 million, what does that really buy you these days? Not a lot. Not to replace someone like Harry Kane. If you're looking at other strikers of anywhere near his quality, the fact that, you know, Declan Rice, a midfielder, went for 105 million. You're looking for the striker to come and replace one of the best, if not the best striker in the world now. Imagine the prices you're going to be quoted for a player on that level. And also, I don't think any other player on that level would be looking to come to Spurs right now. It's almost an impossible task. So you've you've got to sign several players to even kind of make up for that. So look, with that one, I really don't know what's going to happen. It's just going to be one of those where we're going to be sitting on a knife edge constantly looking around. Is he, isn't he, is he, isn't he? Who else are we going to be linked with? So look, with this one ramping up a bit and Harry Kane supposedly making an intent that he wants to go there without putting in a transfer request, I think we're going to start being linked with several strikers now. But yeah, that is... No, that's not it for today. Let's talk about Clement Lenglet as well. Barcelona president has come out and basically said that he's pretty sure Clement Lenglet is going to end up at Tottenham. It's just a case of discussing the fee. However, I think with these other centre-back talks going on, especially with like Van der Ven and Tapsoba being, they can both play extremely well on the left, we could see things cool on Lenglet. But as I've said, at 5 million, it's a snippet for a player that we could just sell for more the following season. But I think what Tottenham are trying to do is hold out, knowing that Barcelona are going to get more and more desperate to get him off the wage bill, and hope that, like they did with Umtiti, they cancel his contract. You cancel his contract, we then get another free transfer of somebody that we know was a reliable enough defender last season. And although I don't think he'll start every game, to come off the bench, he's got good experience. He did fairly well when he was on last season. Not too much got by him. He's fairly decent on the ball. I think on a free transfer or even anything up to 5 million, that's a decent signing as well. So we'll leave it there for today. You're like 20-minute video there. So yeah, plenty to think about, plenty to digest. Don't forget to comment below about any of the players that we've spoken about today. Let me know about any players that you might want to see come in that we haven't been linked with yet. I did see another link to Harry Maguire today, which it just made me want to cry. So I don't want to talk about that one. Instead, I kind of hope he goes to West Ham. There's a West Ham fan I talked to at work, and she was really annoyed that he's been linked with them as well. So that just goes to show how far his reputation has fallen. However, I think West Ham would be a good fit for him. So yeah, what other player? Giovanni Lo Celso, he's somebody that's drumming up a lot of interest, especially in Spain after his loan spell. So I don't know what's going to happen with him when he comes back, but I do think there's a possibility that Postecoglou at least looks at him. Yeah, in the next video, we'll probably talk about possible outgoings of players as they start returning to the club, because I think after we sign possibly Van der Ven, there are rumours that will be it for a little while until we can get a few players out the door, and then we'll start looking at bringing more players in. So yeah, that's it for today. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Please support the video with a like. It takes you 2 seconds just to push that little thumbs up. That helps the video reach more people. And as always, leave your comments below. So thank you very much for sticking around. I have been Kieran from Speaking Spurs, and until next time, come on you Spurs.